increasing Nigeria's crude oil production. Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has intensified its fight against crude oil theft in the country. In July, 162 illegal pipeline connections and illegal refineries in the Niger Delta were uncovered. 93 illegal pipeline connections and 69 illegal refineries were uncovered in Aboa and Gbokoda, and many more. Let's get to put this into perspective. And a senior research and policy analyst, he's with Budget, Mr. Enebi Okpalua, joins me now to continue this conversation. Good afternoon, and thank you for being a part of the program. It's good to see you.
Good afternoon, Tolu. Thanks for having me.
Well, crude oil prices are today, I saw it with my colleagues before I came on air, is doing above $70, looking pretty good. I want to ask you, how long do you think we'll sustain this, considering all that is happening all around us before the end of the year?
Okay, I think, well, for the last 1 month, crude oil prices have been on decline, and due to some certain reasons, the American inventory was released, and we discovered that they have a lot of production. There are issues with spare capacity with OPEC because they are trying to cut production to balance up prices. So there is this push and pull dynamic between OPEC plus and non-OPEC players in the market, which has recently caused the price to decline over the last 1 month. However, if you look at long-term projections for the next 1 year, it is expected to hover between $80 and perhaps $90 per barrel towards the end of next year. So I think for now, it's not really in a bad place. Nigeria's benchmark for the 2024 budget is $78 per barrel. And currently, Burning Light is doing around 78 or above that. And hopefully should do better than that next year, given the prevailing circumstances. So I think for the crude oil price, for now, it's still okay. The higher the price, the better for us as a country.
No, you don't think any global issues could affect us as we move on, Mr. Nebi?
Well, if there are global issues, it depends. It could go either. If there are any, perhaps, let's say, conflicts, just like the ones we have in Ukraine, or the one that recently happened in Israel and Palestine, that affects oil producing areas, then obviously it will affect supply and then increase prices. So short of that, then the current situation will persist. But if there seems to be a ramp up of supply, assuming OPEC decides that they will no longer be cutting production, because the side effect of cutting production that you lose market share. And right now, OPEC market share is around 51%, the lowest since OPEC was formed in the 1970s. So if OPEC decides that they don't want to lose market share anymore and want to increase production, then we have excess supply. Currently, the US is topping supply globally. They are doing somewhat above 14 million every day, 14 million barrels per day. So there is a lot of supply. Half of non-OPEC supply is provided by United States. So there is a lot of market share to tussle with, and the risk of cutting production that you lose market share. Now, if OPEC decides to change their tactics, perhaps increase supply and push the price down below the cost of production for United States, or let's say for shale oil, which cannot do anything, we cannot do better than $50 per barrel, then that will be a problem for Nigeria. But I don't want to go into that terrain right now. I think as a country, we have a lot of challenges that we need to look at and solve, and good oil prices are in best interest of Nigeria.
Brilliant. Let's take it up to what the NNPCL said at the Senate last week. The GCEO met with the Senate committee and said President Tinubu's budget proposal, the assumptions are achievable. Above $70 per barrel. We are supposed to make OPEC quota. But I'm going to ask you, on the sidelines of all of this, 162 illegal pipeline connections, 93 illegal pipeline collections, and all that has been happening with crude oil theft, and what NNPC has been doing to address this ugly trend. How do we balance this? We are trying to meet up a quota, but on the other side, some guys are hitting us badly at that end.
Okay, so definitely for us to meet our quota for this year, I think the last general quota was around, for Nigeria, was 1.69 million barrels per day. That was OPEC, I think, as of the first quarter of this year. And then I think the last meeting across board, OPEC members and OPEC Plus members were asked to reduce production by about 10% for the first quarter of 2024 going forward. That was the last cuts that were proposed. And I think there will be a meeting again in January or February of OPEC Plus members. So we're going to see how that turns out. However, because of these crude oil vandalism, our quota has not been able to be met, right? We have issues with vandalism, oil theft, and investments. Those are the three major challenges that Nigeria has regarding production. And if we are going to increase production, then we have to ensure we address these issues. Discovering of illegal pipeline collections is good news for the country. That means the loopholes, the leakages are being mopped up. Given that the information we're getting is authentic, that means the loopholes, the leakages are being mopped up, and hopefully we should see increased production levels in the next couple of months in the numbers. Currently, we are doing 1.3 million barrels per day, 400 barrels short of what we should be doing under our OPEC cuts. So definitely, we should see a reflection in the numbers going forward, and given that the pipeline leakages are being detected.
A lot of work to be done there, because I always like to follow up with this, that crude oil theft is not just what anyone could just go into, because someone will buy the crude and it will be refined. So let's shift our focus now to refining, which is a must mention. You want to say something before I move to refining? Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So in terms of crude oil theft, I've said this before, is a highly technical endeavor.
It's not just for small boys.
Serious, huge networks, high technical know-how, and very strong connections, both within and outside state and non-state organizations. So this is a serious problem that must be addressed if we're going to make headway regarding our crude oil production levels. So that is just one arm of the problem. There is the investment, and if we don't mop up those problems, investors will not be confident enough to put their money in the country. Excluding our macroeconomic situation, given exchange rate, dollar scarcity, you understand, these are things that investors also look at. Because of the reforms in the oil sector, there is this hope, or let's say optimism that, okay, perhaps the investment climate will be better. We've seen Nigeria's ratings improve by different international agencies. So there is this sense of optimism regarding Nigeria's investment climate. However, the issue of insecurity is a major problem. If you cannot be safe in doing your job, then it doesn't make any sense. And if you invest your money and then your products are taken from under your feet, that's also a huge problem as well. So definitely the issues of vandalism, oil theft must be addressed if we are going to make headway concerning our crude oil production.
Let's now move to refining, which is a must mention. Dangote refinery received shipment of crude a few weeks ago, and many expect diesel and some production to start. We also hear that a portion of a segment of the PH refinery, this Port Harcourt refinery, has also been activated. Now, what will now be your outlook with regards to Nigeria's refining capacity?
I would say, given in the first, I will say my best projections will be somewhere between, I would say, safe bet second quarter to middle of next year, because yes, the Dangote refinery has received a shipment of crude oil from certain partners, from the NNPCL, Shell, and also ExxonMobil going forward. We are looking at 6 million barrels of crude oil shipment, which is largely going to be test run. The refinery intends to begin production at 350,000 barrels per day, and will begin with products like diesel, aviation fuel, I think kerosene. But I think PMS, petrol, will be the last product that will come on stream. And I don't know when that is going to take place. These shipments that we received is to set the ball rolling. They are going to use for test running, ensure that they can meet that products meet required standards. As you can see from the press statement, they have European standards, United States standards, African regional standards to meet with their products, meaning that they are targeting a lot of markets, not just the Nigerian market, but the wider West African markets and probably markets outside the continent of Africa. Probably, this is just me talking. So that means a lot of tests have to be done to ensure that their products meet specification. And that is what this first shipment is for. When this has successfully been accomplished, then the next consistent shipment, because it's not just to receive a shipment of crude oil once in a while. That is not production. Production means you have consistent supply, because the refinery is not supposed to stop working. You have to ensure you are producing at a minimal level to ensure that your economies of scale apply and you can make profit. So production has to be consistent, and that means supply must be consistent. Thankfully, the refinery has been equipped to receive crude from both within and outside Nigeria, from wherever, so they can process crude oil from a broad range of sources. So when supply is consistent, then we can fully say that the Dangote refinery is fully operational, and then we can start expecting our first supply to the market, to the Nigerian market. For the Port Harcourt refinery, it's similar. It has gone through turnaround maintenance. They are somewhere in the final stages. It depends on what you read. Some says 90% of procurement, some say 75% complete. Let's say there is progress, and then hopefully very soon, there's a countdown going on to the 31st of December. I don't see the refinery coming up before December 31st. However, I still put that at next year, and based on the calendar, the Warri refinery should come up before the end of 2024, if all things go according to plan. So, given this, we are going to be looking at some considerable supply of refined petroleum to the Nigerian market. What this means is that we are probably going to be getting petrol at lower than current prices, probably. Now, the exchange rate is a very huge factor that's affecting the cost of products in Nigeria. Given if the projections by the Minister of Budget and National Planning and Minister of Finance regarding our exchange rate is going to be taken seriously, that means if our exchange rate balances out, inflation drops, and then we might begin to see better reflection of the prices in the domestic market. However, if the exchange rate continues to spiral out of control, then the efforts regarding domestic refining might fizzle out. But given the current circumstances, I would say, based on my analysis, there might be a considerable difference, reduction in the price of petrol in Nigeria when it is produced domestically because of the current exchange rate. Now, it may not be huge. I don't think you might be seeing a 200 naira per liter or a 300 naira per liter, maybe not even a 400 naira per liter cost of petrol. I am putting this somewhere around the north of 500 to 600, north of 500 naira per liter. Perhaps a 50 naira difference between current prices and the prices that we will see, given the parameters that are in place. So definitely we should have supply, and it's not just about the price, all right? There is also a protection of the domestic petrol market from external volatilities. So given the current circumstances, if there is a supply disruption in perhaps Europe or Asia, Europe largely where we import our refined petroleum products from, then it will also affect supply in Nigeria. We'll see shortages in supply. If there are issues on the sea, if there are supply disruptions, if there's a God forbid, a pandemic, if anything happens to our supply chain, it would affect Nigeria's supply, given the current circumstances. But when we can now secure supply from refineries in Nigeria, then that external volatility regarding supply would be stopped, and then we can now have more security of supply for refined petroleums within Nigeria, which I think is also another advantage to what we should expect as a country, given whatever the price would be. I hope that the price will be significant. Best case, hopefully, maybe if I were to put a number, it may be within 50 to 100 naira in terms of difference, just based on my ballpark figures that I'm throwing out there. It's not based on any analysis as of yet, but my best guess would be somewhere around that range in terms of differences.
You've brought me to ask you this question about the pricing of PMS at the moment, where some are saying, no, should be selling for as much as 750 if we are to look at the current realities of FX and all of that. Yes, I see that smile already. Some say, are you sure government is not paying subsidy one way or the other? No, they don't want to use that word subsidy. Differentials or kind of shortfall. So which of them are we doing at this time in your understanding?
All right, so Tolu, like I said, I am a researcher and my business is evidence. So
I know, right?
Given that there are a lot of speculation around, so I attended, or I virtually attended that meeting by the World Bank, where they give us an analysis of what the price of PMS should be within Nigeria, given the current parameters. And according to the analysis, if we were not subsidizing petrol, then we should be paying 750 naira per liter for petrol, and depending on your location anyway. Currently, the prices range from um, somewhere 568 in Lagos for NNPC to the north part, higher parts of the 600 naira per liter, depending on the part of the country you are. So I will leave it at where the World Bank put it as well, that perhaps the NNPC can tell us what they are doing regarding the management of petrol price in Nigeria that is keeping it at the current level. At the very least, they can tell us what brilliant efforts they are doing to keep the price at the current level. But given that, I don't think Nigerians want to hear, even if we are saying that there's a subsidy, Nigerians don't want to hear that the price of petrol is higher, especially in this festive season, all right? So if the government is subsidizing petrol at some rates, then it may not be politically expedient, but perhaps it might just be simple to just admit it and tell us that, okay, given the current realities, maybe you can target that as another palliative measure. I know a lot of people will come at the government saying that perhaps the policy they didn't think it out properly at first. But if they are doing that, and if they perhaps they might want to admit it, but if they may not want to admit it as well, because the implications for doing that, if you admit that you are subsidizing petrol, then your political opponents will come at you. That is one. Secondly, you have international observers that have been observing your reforms and have been praising your boldness in implementing these reforms. And that has also translated to some of the improvement in ratings that we've seen. Now, to now go and admit that, okay, this is partial and not complete, then you risk losing some of those apparent gains that you feel you have had. So I don't know if the government will want to admit any of that anyway. However, if they are doing anything that is keeping the price at the current level, then they can come ahead and let Nigerians know.
Brilliant stuff. That is really safe. I like that, Mr. Nebe. I like that. I like the response to that question, making it clear. Well, before I let you go, because this might be, most likely will be our last chat until maybe 2024, we'll have you on the show again, God willing. Updates on the PIA and what everyone should be taking home, federal government, host communities, IOCs, as we move on to actualize the objectives of this act.
All right, for me, I'll say the PIA is a journey, all right, not a destination, not as of yet, all right. The removal of petrol subsidy was part of reforms that the PIA was recommended, all right, which has been done. And so we are still managing that situation right now. In terms of host communities, this year we've had some host community trust funds that are beginning to take shape. And I would say a lot of efforts should be put into those areas. Communities that do not have the capacity to be well represented on the board of the trust fund should be let's say assisted, supported to have that capacity. If there are CSOs that can come and fill in that gap, to have proper intelligent representation of host communities on their trust funds, so that it can kick off where it hasn't kicked off. That would help. Essentially, we just need to ensure that the host community trust funds are running, and as soon as possible, because there is also a timeline regarding how much revenue is available for the next decade or the next 2 decades, and how much those revenues can be used to do something good in those communities. So the earlier, the better. And I was saying generally, the little reforms that we can continue to make, the regulatory overlaps that we've had with some of the regulators that the PIA has brought up, like the NUPRC and NNPCL, those things should be sorted out. I think there was an issue regarding export terminals of crude oil. The presidency intervened and ensured that there was a delineation of roles between the NUPRC and the NNPCL, and pending when the act is amended to show clarity regarding that specific point. All right. So I think some of these things need to be ironed out. Like I said, it's a journey, and as we learn, we adjust. But we shouldn't make some unnecessary adjustments to the act so that we don't discourage investors who want to put their money in the country.
Right. I must thank you so much, Senior Research and Policy Analyst Borjit and Mr. Enebi Okpalua. Thank you so much for starting with us this Monday on Business Nigeria. We appreciate you. Have a profitable week.
Thank you very much.
All right, there. Great conversation.